Morning, everybody! Happy Mondays and all of that jazz. How are you, David Mintz?
I'm groovy, man.
Yeah, you do look groovy. You always look fairly groovy.
I'm feeling good. I stayed away from all the protests this weekend. Did you?
So you have a chance of feeling good in 2 weeks' time, unlike many of them.
It's unbelievable, the scenes of the numbers of people that were packed in there.
Am I missing the point? Aren't we coming out of lockdown? I can understand it if it was like 2 months. Is it just that it was too cold a couple of months ago?
I think that's it. I don't think it's any fun parading in cold, windy, wet weather. But now it's all right. And don't forget, they get the benefit of being able to have a pint outdoors.
Yeah, so there's win-wins. All the time, India watches on and kind of just says, "Are you mental?" But anyway, that's those shocking scenes over there, aren't they?
Unbelievably so. And I think they desperately need help, and I hope that we're going to be able to give it to them. When I say we, I don't mean Kerfuffle.
I don't mean I've got my oxygen machine on the go. It's unbelievable. I mean, I know they're not blessed with the wealth, and obviously their health service is obviously struggling massively underneath it. But to see, there seems to be loads of administrative bureaucracy in terms of how they're not getting the oxygen between the different states, which is tragic in itself on just any level. But can you imagine being in those places and being told we've only got half an hour of oxygen left? It's genuine.
It doesn't, and with the volume of people that are going through it, there, it just doesn't bear thinking about. They've got a real issue.
Anyway, that's a nice way to kick off the. And now seamlessly into the world of a state agency, which has had the most
all problems in a state agency pale into comparison when you read the headlines. But it's interesting because one of the stories today that all three, if I'm not mistaken, all three of our major news outlets are carrying, and that's both Property Industry Eye, Estate Agent Today. I think the Negotiators also got it as well. It's talking about people queuing up outside estate agencies.
Yeah, Bidney Cook have got somebody good in PR, because this is, as you said, it's got the grand slam across all three publications here, highlighting Apple-esque scenes of people queuing to secure some new homes developments. My question to you is, do phones still not exist?
Yeah, well, my question to you is if I mean, the chap himself went out there in the middle of the night with a box of donuts and some coffee, and he went to give it to all these guys that were queuing up in the street. Did he not? He's only got, what is it, 15 houses to sell? Did he not just go to the first 15 and check their position there and then and say, "Okay, sunshine, you can go home. It's all right. We've got it in the bag"?
That's right. I hadn't thought of that, but it's almost as
or did he say, "I'm going to go and grab some Dunkin' Donuts whilst I also call the reporters from Property Industry Eye"?
Yeah. Are you comfortable there on the pavement?
Well, but that is, do you know what? If that is not a true indictment of the times that we're living in and the pressures that certain agents are under, and great pressure to have, really, I cannot stress, no one's moaning. But having buyers queuing, literally sleeping in the streets to get into houses, that's... I don't know if we've ever seen that before.
No, I don't think we have we? And as we said, Apple-esque scenes, and maybe, I don't know if there's a bit of that kind of, everyone tries to recreate that Apple moment, don't they, where they've got people doing it. So I suppose inevitably at some stage it had to hit us. But I judge demand by how many memes I get or GIFs on a particular subject. And when the estate agency comedy meme sites are going off the chart with kind of how hot the market is, there's something happening, don't you?
There is, and as you well know, we've been busy with our Silver Bullets series, just trying to sort of take care of. We've got one on prospecting that we released this morning, how to speed up your conveyancing process, etc., etc., etc. There's some great stuff there.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign in itself, isn't there? A lot of these times, it takes a while for these kind of suppliers to build online. But you were saying a couple of those silver bullet stories you did the other week, they'll remain nameless, but they actually got, a couple of deals straight off the back of it, didn't it? Again, so people looking for, and I suppose that's the genius of the silver bullet, obviously, title series itself, looking for those those things to help. I mean, some of these tools are obviously high and wide of the mark, but some are capable of delivering, as the ones you've covered.
Do you know what I've understood from all my conversations with all these people is that you don't need to wait for a really great market to catch you off balance, so that you have to then prospect, or you have to then speed up your conveyancing process. There are things that we can all be doing during regular markets and throughout the whole year to create an easier life for ourselves.
That's right.
Because prospecting is, let's face it, it's a long-term game, isn't it? It's not a short-term gain that you're going to get out of it. So you need to really do that well in advance.
And you were talking there about, obviously, that series you do. You've got an ongoing theme at the moment, haven't you? I mean, this is Simply Conveyancing, talking about progress and pipeline should be Age's absolute focus. I'll be surprised if it isn't there. And they're highlighting, obviously, some of the figures. You've been drawing that attention to the cliff edge that is. When is it due happening? Or
I think the first major cliff edge is going to be the end of June, with the SDLT, and then there's a smaller one. It tapers off, doesn't it, towards September, for lower value sales. I think up to 250,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and so you've been talking as a solution there of the auction companies as being then one of the sole ways of doing it, really.
Well, it's interesting because my office put something on social media last night. I think Josh did it. I'm going to try and bring that up now. But basically, he put on a little advert, if you like, and it was interesting. It said, let me bring it up. Here it is. If you move into if you instruct us to sell your property today, your likely move-in date will be some point, I think it was July the 19th or something like that. And that was just using market sort of averages and what we know about the process at the moment. So really, if you do approach an estate agent today and say, look, I need to get my sale through before the end of June and I need to buy something before the end of June, you pretty much don't have the chance of venturing down the conventional sale route. And so those auction options are up every agent's sleeve, and they should be integrating them more into their processes.
Give me a you know how we like our gut feel here. What percentage of the public do you think actually have any conception that is the sort of timescales involved? It's going to be a low number, isn't it, that really understand it?
Yeah, no, I don't think people truly understand it. I think that people that are trying to buy a house and all those people that were sleeping in the streets to get into a house, they should understand that they're up against the competition in any event, regardless of what the timescales look like. But then if you were to then sort of extend that logic to the fact that pipelines must be absolutely jam-packed, and also the solicitors must be groaning under the strain. But you're right. I don't think your average buyer knows quite what it takes to get it through and what the timescales are. And that's why some of the stories that were released by the press last week were all entitled, agents should be educated, have a duty really to educate their vendors and also the buyers as to what the likely timescales must be. You should not be walking into somebody's house this week and promising them that you can do it. Yeah. Unless you know that you can.
Yeah, no, agreed. And that underbidder situation then sparks the desperation you see of people queuing outside. I think it was an Agent Rainmaker for the fantastic Facebook group there. Have you seen it's an American YouTube video, but about the state of the property market at the moment? Somebody trying to selling an apple? Have you seen it?
Yes, I did see that, yeah.
Fantastic. We'll post it up on here afterwards if you haven't done it. It seems pretty true talking to everyone. Okay, cool. So, I mean, that's there was another article. I think this Silas from WikiWam, who seems to be doing a lot of research and thought leadership at the moment. He just reiterates this time that there needs to be a love-in. It's time for estate agents and lawyers to call the truth. good luck with that one. Israel Palestine will be done long before that.
Yeah, but it's like asking to call a truce in the sort of the last 90 minutes of of this battle. I mean, we're literally this. I don't even think you've seen tensions between estate agents and lawyers until we get to sort of mid-June, when those pipeline look perilously on that cliff edge, and we might be losing a few sales here and there. But he's right in the sentiment that the conveyancing industry and the estate agency industry were means to an end for our customers, aren't we? We're parts of the same process, and we should get together and agree on the things that we can agree on. And I think the conveyancing industry as well needs to accept that it's time for them to step up to the same level as estate agents. Estate agents have been very good at adopting technology to deliver efficiencies to their clients, and it's about time that conveyancers did as well. There's some fantastic modern conveyancing out there, but there are also loads and loads and loads of people that are still doing it the way that they were taught to do it in the 1950s.
Dare I say it, aren't agents a little bit to blame here? Because we were talking about this off camera the other day, and we were talking about this. Although agents actually joke about it amongst themselves about staying with the local solicitor to keep the probate deals and that local relationship there, whilst they keep obviously dare I say encouraging it or just not going where the efficiencies are, then they're part of the problem as well, aren't they? In that respect.
I think we are, but you know what? That whole mantra of shop local. Why wouldn't you give your business to a local provider
if they don't look, if they're an efficient obviously if they're an efficient solicitor, obviously absolutely fine if they're great at conveyancing, but the reality is that because they do it so piecemeal, they don't have the efficiencies of some of the other ones. Now, I'm not automatically saying that the bigger ones do definitely have it, but when you look at some of the the likes of the Sort Moves, Simply Conveyancing, that have invested in technological solutions there so that they have everything at their the tip of their fingers and everything else. Because if you're going to ignore that sort of stuff, you can't also then keep blaming them, can you?
No, I agree. We've not made life easy for ourselves either, but I think that it's a standard that needs to be adopted by an industry as a whole. And we've been forced to do that over the years in our industry. Why why is it that they have evaded that for so long?
Well, I don't know who used the quote originally, David, but what's the famous quote about you're only ever 3 meals away from civilization collapsing? When 3 deals are looking at collapsing, as you said, it's going to be brutal out there, isn't it? There's not going to be this love in the room we're hoping at the moment.
Well, that's it. That's it. Christian Byfield, some still consider a fax machine cutting edge tech. It just reminds me of this.
Yeah, very good, very nice. Is that still true? I mean, I do hear this, but do they genuinely still using faxes for doing it? I saw your video about some of your phone call where. What did he say? It doesn't take phone.
It's where I called that guy and he said, he said to me, "I'm sorry, I don't take calls before 4 p.m. Please call back after 4 p.m." And he just slammed the phone down. And I later caught up with that same solicitor, and they explained that they need time to do their work, so they allot 3/4 of an hour. They close at 4:45, but you can call any time from 4 o'clock, which means you've got a 45-minute window to get hold of this guy. If that is, no one else needs to talk to him as well.
So he's a time and motions genius, then, basically. That's okay.
But that's classic old school, and it's classic. They don't care because they are dinosaurs, and they know that time is almost up for them. So really, they don't care about delivering a better service. But there are some fantastic conveyancing solutions out there that do. Daniel Hamilton Charlton. I love a double-barreled name in the morning, don't you?
Yeah.
Not all the answers are technology-led. Upfront data requires no tech, just an understanding and a willingness. Agents hold all the keys, literally. He's right. The earlier you get started, the better. I mean, get the conveyancing process started, make sure that documents are ordered. And Mr. Hamilton Charlton then goes on to say, agents ignore and waste so much time during marketing that can make a massive difference to conveyance. Why is everyone still so quick to say that conveyancers have not embraced technology when so many have? There are bad eggs on both sides of the divide. I like this guy.
Hey, there we are. We've got a new blood. We like that. Do you know what I was looking about that Wiggy Wham, the statement from Silas though? What I was really interested there is that their service offers a what is it? Wiggy Wham gave a money back guarantee, I think it was, if they can't do it within 10 weeks. That immediately appeals to my marketing consumer head. He says, I will say, however, if you choose Wiggy Wham, there's little risk at all because we pledge a money back guarantee if we don't help cut the process down to 12 weeks or less. That's nice to see that sort of confidence, isn't it? And that sort of that rhetoric, isn't it?
It is, but you know what I've noticed creeping into the marketplace of conveyancing solutions is that there are a certain amount of financial guarantees being embraced as well. So, for instance, there's buyer's protection in case your sale doesn't go the way that you want it to. So effectively, what you've got in all of these solutions is almost like a non-fault insurance cover. So as long as it's not you that's caused the sale to fall apart, you can get most of your costs recouped. So that it's an interesting thing that's going on out there.
Yeah, cool. And what have you got on the mark then this week? Anything exciting people you're talking to?
I'm a little bit excited because I got one of our old favourites on this week. I'm going to be speaking to Heather from Spectre.
Heather will be chuffed. You called her an old favourite. That's great. Yeah, you mean.
Well, when I say an old favourite, she was 75 episodes ago. She was our very first guest on this podcast.
75? Come on, add a zero. I mean, surely we've done more than that. It feels like
no. We don't just churn these out just for there is a divide between quantity and quality. So I think we lost the quality when we broke the 50 mark. Yeah.
Well, that's right. We didn't give up, did you? Well, that's great because obviously, Heather back then. If we think back to that world, didn't we? The way back when she obviously Spectre was just known as obviously a premium MI tool for the industry and everything else.
Yeah.
And they burst onto the scene with. I'm sure you'll be talking to her House Streets coming along. That's going to be fascinating.
I'm going to be having a chat with her. I've got loads of other suppliers as well. Too numerous to mention. But what's interesting on the agent side of things, I released over the weekend. I think you've probably all seen. I did a interview last week with Michelle Killoran, who is currently at UC Homes, but she is ex-Purple Bricks. An interesting part of that interview where we discuss her time at Purple Bricks and the training, her view on the Bruce brothers as well. She gives us all of that. What is tremendous though, and I think it really comes out of that interview, is exactly how hands-on they have been in leadership within their businesses. Agree with it or disagree with it and their approach, they have been there in training people from the start.
And you echoed this, didn't you, when they pitched Booming to you, didn't you? That they were.
Yeah.
You were a bit impressed. Oh, look, they've even jumped on with little old me,
Yeah, it was a little bit of, it's a little bit of celeb status. Whether you like it or not, they are notorious, and so therefore, when they do jump on a call with you, you feel like you're at the top of the tree. So that was a very interesting interview, both in from the perspective of how she thinks they are perhaps capable of change for Booming and also for agents together. She's very much involved with Agents Together, and it's a very interesting interview from that aspect. She talks about her experiences as a woman within the industry as well, and her experiences are very different to some others. So it's well worth a watch. I've also recorded, and I need to edit it and get it out there, my next interview with somebody that works at Davis Tate and in Reading, and she's got the most fabulous name. Her name's Megan 18.
What do you mean?
Her surname is 18.
As in
the number 18, but spelt in a word. Yeah.
And I'm assuming is this where you leave us Chris Watkins style with the sort of you've left that out?
No. She's an absolutely superb individual. She's a lettings manager there of a fairly big outfit. She's also the regional representative for Arla Property Mark. And so we cover.
Davis Tate are part of the LSLI.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're part of LSL. Yeah. So, but it was a very interesting discussion because she's been in the industry quite a while. So she's got all sorts of experiences over the last 20 or so years, and she's a very impressive individual. She was highlighted to me by Amy from Sprift, who reckons that she is one of our future leaders. So one to look out for.
That's great. And look, we've been talking as well, haven't we? It's good to hear Amy nominating that. We'd say to anybody out there, if you know of interesting agents or indeed on the supplier side who we should be talking to outside of the, we love the old favourites. There's no one like me who has a list of the old favourites. But if you know people like that, up-and-coming people we should be talking to, please do nominate them. You know where to find us, or you can get us at marketing@kerfuffle.com and just say who you think we should talk to and why, because we love to talk to them.
Everybody's got a story. Everyone's got an experience. And here at Kerfuffle, we care. We're
an inclusive family, and not in a bad way. The one thing I would just say is that it's worth keeping an eye out, and as usual with my absolute lack of preparation, but it's this element here where Property Mark have teamed up with the American National Association of Realtors to create Reach. I don't know if you've seen this, David.
I did see that. I was gonna ask you how you felt about that.
Well, I think it's really, really good. And there's there's enough room in the world for. Look, he's already in with it. Well done, Daniel. Happy to do that.
Daniel, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna drop my email address into the comments here. Send me an email with your details. I'll get in touch this week.
Given that he's come to us on LinkedIn, David, if only there was some sort of business-to-business communication system.
Do you know what? That LinkedIn, I love it because, yes, I can become very quickly connected to Simon Whale, right, on LinkedIn. Everybody knows him. But is it just me, or is it the most spammed space in internet history?
It's a bit rich of this doing our 937th recording of the month, but you're absolutely right. It's a real weird it's a really weird platform, LinkedIn, isn't it? I do love it. Its ability to obviously connect to people and find out is unprecedented. But as an actual sticky kind of, logging back into it, I don't know what it is about the notification system in LinkedIn. It just doesn't seem to work in quite the same way that others do, does it?
Well, no, I think, and also their tagging process, and when you share something on LinkedIn, it's not quite the same as it doesn't have the same algorithmic kind of blend that Facebook and say Instagram do. It's a whole different thing. But the one thing that you can see on LinkedIn is that they've totally come away from the old-fashioned sort of style, and they are mimicking more of that. A professional version of Facebook, effectively. You've got stories, you've got videos there, and it's still the same scrolling experience.
Well, I don't know if you'll have seen this. Obviously, I'm a bit of a stato for it, but Microsoft bought them, didn't they? Famously, I think some time ago, and Microsoft have been touted for some time to come out with a competitive CRM system. to try and really go head to head again with the likes of the Salesforce and things like that. They've never, year on year, they keep talking about it. Could you imagine a business CRM system that at its core has LinkedIn built into it? I mean, that would be incredibly powerful, wouldn't it? As long as they could, and it's always that careful balancing act, as long as they could stop the spamming so much that they could still take advantage of the connection side of it.
It's interesting because if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that I liked about Akaboom, and bear in mind, I've not had a demo on Akaboom for about 2 years now, was the fact that you could do some social research in terms of social media on your prospect. So if you were going to see a Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you'd be able to perhaps take a sneak peek at their LinkedIn profile or maybe their Facebook page, and that gives you a little bit of intelligence. I would love a CRM system linked to LinkedIn.
And they used to do it. Salesforce actually used to have a couple of really interesting, just simple plugins that did exactly that. And on the face of it, like all of these things, like the ability, going back to the old days, brief your market. Oh God, being able to see them opening an email. That is. Oh, I just noticed you opened our email. But actually, when it's done right, that social profiling, it's just the equivalent of when you walk in a house and you see that they've got Man United shirts on the wall, or that you can see a picture of them fishing, and you have the ability to connect with them, don't you? In a very real sense, very quickly, which is what first impressions are all about, isn't it?
And let's face it, it's not stalking, because part of social media is that we have all put ourselves out there in terms of the information that we've already said we're happy to share publicly. I mean, I don't know about you, but very few of what I share on, say, Facebook is private. It's all available to the public because I just know that's where it's going.
I am. Have you heard of a LinkedIn lion? I'm trying to become a lion, and this isn't some sort of, easy Mardi Gras joke, or I'm not a bear or a lion, which is basically you are open to all invites on LinkedIn. And I've genuinely, as I said, I'm not fussy. I've always had that philosophy of just connections bring opportunities. So I even have welcomed into the world the 932,000 recruitment agents and things like that.
There are a ton of recruitment agents there, aren't there?
I think the big ones are the currency stalkers at the moment, aren't they? They'll talk to you. I really like your profile. Love pink. Have you bought Bitcoin this week?
Love it. So talk to me about that tie-up.
So I came across these guys first. NAR is the National Association of Realtors, the equivalent to Property Mark, obviously, over here. Massive. I think famously they have over 1 million realtors in the States, as you'd expect. What they did really interestingly, though, they realised that they had a really important position. They had the exposure to the agents. And that part of their duty was really nurturing some of those suppliers that they considered up and coming best in class. So Property Mark have gone down this route as well, and this is their, what do they call them, the first cadre of businesses. You just mentioned Amy, probably the best one known there is Sprint. There's Offer, fantastic on our site as well, inventory base. Property inspected under the doormat, I don't know as well, but these are the first ones off the shelf where they try to enter into a nurturing program with this fantastic sort of process. So Active Pipe, you may remember as well, they actually went into the US version of this, a bit like Dragon's Den, if you can imagine it in a property sense, and they got approved by the REACH program over there, and also took a level of investment. So I don't know if they're going quite down that level at the moment in terms of investments over here, or whether it's just more support. But anything that can give businesses that assistance that stops them being ivory tower, and of course, lots of these businesses there have the ability to obviously go international, and so to be able to, I think they have contacts in about 80 companies, so it's a pretty impressive thing from the supplier side of things. So anyway, the reason I raised it here is, as usual, I haven't got the next bit of the story. There is I think an interview with them, so I will post it up there, but that's well worth watching out for anyway.
Yeah, it is interesting. I often wonder whether we have more to learn from the US or they have more to learn from us in the field of prop tech. But I think it's fair to say that we're UK prop tech companies are capable at the moment of producing some absolutely fine products, and I'm not surprised that there's interest over there.
Well, we do need to do this as a show, actually, Dave, because one thing I can say categorically, and after having accidentally found out, I treat everything like that in that comparative, who's the best. As you know, we've spent a lot of time talking to the Aussie agents. And the simple truth is there is no dominant place. Obviously Australia's fantastic. You get the Brits over here getting pissed off that we spend so long talking about it. But what you find is because of the natural strengths and ironically weaknesses in the system, so some of the weaknesses in our overall system have created the gap for technology to fill the void. So as a symptom of our low fees, we've obviously had to do great numbers and get efficiencies in other parts of it. We do well at referrals. So it's unsurprisingly, you tend to see, Aussies do fantastic at some angles of marketing where we get efficiency savings and things like that. The Americans are fantastic because of the individual brand and the social side. So there is it's really exciting. And to people like, Unisu who look at this global picture of it, I think they've got over 6,000 prop tech firms on there. That's a symptom. I know a lot of people say that it's a depressing. It can be depressing and it can be a lot of noise, but out of that ecosystem does necessarily come some really exciting businesses.
Sorry, you mentioned a name there. Can I just say Hunisu?
Very good. Yeah, very good. They do a fantastic job in profiling of this worldwide scene. I mean, as I said, I like to think I'm a train spotter, and I don't know half of the businesses on there. So
you know what? It's something that I've noticed about. I mean, I've been watching them for about probably about 4 or 5 years now, as long as they've been going, and it's interesting. They're concentrating on a global prop tech market with solutions from Europe and all over the world, stuff that you haven't ever heard of. A lot of it all does the same thing.
Not just resi, of course. And here's the thing, if you think our little UK resi part of the market has got too many in terms of prop tech, bloody hell, you should see the US commercial scene and everything else there. It's insanity. But that's the world we're in, isn't it? So it's not like you can moan about it or should moan about it, really.
But Daniel's right. I mean, at the heart of all of this, you can have as much tech as you want. And one of the questions we asked this week on Agree or Disagree was, do portals sell houses or do estate agents sell houses? And whichever agent you talk to about the tech that they use, I think the one thing that they all think is key is that if you remove the agent from that equation, the whole thing doesn't work. You need that human element.
Absolutely, and it's always the best tech is always talking about enabling the best aspects of the agent themselves, aren't they? Whether that's freeing them up to do more of it or presenting them in a better way.
That's true. So talking of presenting you in a better way, we saw you lunching last week with some of the industry's finest business lunches, obviously. More of that to come as you get out there into the wider world. What have you got on this week, Mr. Whale?
I think it's very quiet this week. Actually, let me just think about. I'm seeing Mr. Byfield, so I'm very excited about that. We have got an actual business get together, which promises to be very exciting. Oh, you're there, so you can.
Yes,
sure.
Very exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing Christian in the flesh.
Well, here he's planned. But can I just tap onto that one? That one with 90 was fantastic on Friday. And anybody needs to be trailblazing to the Academy and EA Masters site. He's sworn me to secrecy to the degree that, he knows that if some of this comes out, it's come directly from me. So I can't do it. But that EA Masters 6-month thing, genuinely, spread over 5 digital events and the main event there. I know everyone talks about the biggest and the best, but it really promises to deliver. Because I think last year was all about the traditional platforms, the conferences, the likes of obviously Esther's, EA Masters, just trying for the first time, wasn't it? Well, what do we do? And we learned a few mistakes through a few mistakes and everything else. But I think what's interesting now is they know that these next, just like with agency, the hybrid events that are going to be taking place, combine the best of us all wanting to get back together, but by having some of those tools that enable other people to get involved, does genuinely take us into a next level.
This is the number one thing that people are understanding about virtual activities, and this isn't just within the field of a state agency. This goes for anything, even community outreach. The issue is that we're all saying, we're going to go back to normal. Let's not forget there were people who didn't have access, who weren't able to go to a conference, who weren't able to, their bosses wouldn't invest in sending them away for a day or whatever it may be. And they're always going to be locked out of that space unless we find ways to make it accessible to them. And doing what they're doing with these hybrid events, I believe, delivers that. It really opens up the access to people.
Look, he can shoot me down if I got it wrong, but if I remember, you can buy essentially a digital-only access one for under £100, which for spread across those. I mean, that's stop talking the talk about training and development, and then not having. And here's the thing: is I don't believe anyone can't afford that. But you know what is a problem is because we've all been so busy, and agents in particular. A lot of people aren't turning up to a lot of these events, which have genuinely exciting, and interesting thought leaders on there. So yeah, I just say, look, put your money where your mouth is. Really, is if you do invest in these things, make sure you take the time out because if you're going to learn things, then you might as well put it into practice.
Yeah, it's you will. That's the one thing that you are taking away. I think from these online events that also focus on getting the knowledge across. So in person you can do a lot of swigging of champagne, but online it's all down to business, isn't it?
Absolutely spot on. And as he talks about it, Christian, the Viking Supplier Conference, albeit it's not much of a conference with only 6 of us, is it, Christian? So
and for anybody watching. Let's just clarify. Christian's a Viking. He's not talking about the crap company that provides stationery.
Yeah, we're not having a do there. Cool, David. I know you've got to nip off to take the nipper to school. Thank you. Look forward to catch up with you later, and obviously keep coming with all of these great things. I know you've got some even more exciting content.
No, there's lots and lots and lots of exciting stuff out there, and it's genuinely exciting to talk to agents who just take your breath away in terms of the stuff that they're doing and the self-development that's going on out there. And also in terms of suppliers, their willingness to learn and adapt and to create products that we're going to use is awesome.
Absolutely is. Let's leave a last shout out as well there as well. We've got him here. Last show you have to look and plan ahead. Tech and check that. Exactly right there. What we would love some ideas from absolutely anyone else out there. We're looking for panel show ideas for agents and suppliers, or even a wonderful coming together of the pair of them to sorry, that was somebody ringing on it. We're looking for great ideas, so send them through to obviously marketing@kerfuffle.com or david@kerfuffle.com, and we're going to be looking at some great ideas, aren't we there, David, to have over the coming weeks.
Very exciting times, everybody, as we go into this lovely. Have you got weather like this, Simon, in your part of Manchester?
See this.
This is awesome. We're in summer now.
It's nice until it gets to summer anyway, and that's.
Hang on, property royalty has just joined us.
It is Graham Wilson has just rung there because he knows now.
Because he knows.
Little kid.
Jason Tebb. Good morning, Jason. You've been a busy boy. I think this is one of the most exciting times for UK prop tech in the last decade. Graham Wilson, cut it out. I'm trying to read an on the market hero. Okay. I think this is one of the most exciting times for the UK prop tech in the last decade. All the new innovations can only be good for agents and consumers. Well, there you go.
Spot on. Absolutely.
And on that wonderful bombshell, we're going to leave you all. Have an awesome week, everybody. And if you need us, just shine the bat signal in the sky, and Simon Ware will be at an outdoor pub near you.
Press the kerfuffle it button and we'll be there.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah, matey. Have a good